The Fish. We are talking about Sky Sharks, directed by Mark Fesk. And this is a bizarre B-movie horror sci-fi film akin to Sharknado meets Sky Captain and the World of Tomorrow. And what we have, a group of rogue zombie Nazis flying along the skies in mechanical cybernetic sharks, attacking anything that is in the air, be it a military target or not, passenger liners, doesn't matter. They're going to attack it and kill them. And it's up to this ex-Nazi scientist who came over via Operation Paperclip and his two daughters to try and cobble together a defence against these flying menace. What'll happen? You'll have to watch the movie to find out. So, clearly, if you like a slow burn psychological horror, this probably isn't going to be the movie for you. This is pure cheesy B-movie hokum. This is the movie that Sharknado wishes that it could be, because let me tell you, this one doesn't leave anything at the door. It is full of gory kills, lots of boobs, lots of wanton destruction, and various different kind of methods of dispatching victims. Gory deaths, you name it, they're all here. It sounds like loads of fun, and in many ways this movie is that. So it definitely has a kind of like the Sky Captain green screen-esque feel to it. So if you're not familiar with that, you may have seen the movie 300, which was kind of one of the more mainstream movies that kind of did this. So it gives it a somewhat comic book feel to it, and it really is a sort of comic book style movie, but a hyper gory one. Obviously the premise is very kind of silly, and I think a lot of people don't get that this movie isn't trying to be anything too cerebral here. It's just meant to be lots of kind of like cool set pieces and a lot of fun. And as I've said, there are elements here that definitely do that. The first and third acts are both action-packed and have loads of kind of cool sequences, lots of set pieces. The actual zombies themselves, these kind of Nazis, always look cool. There's like a kind of a ninja-esque female one, for example, that seems to be the kind of the leader. The effects are a bit of a mixed bag, to be honest with you, but there are some fantastically cool gory kills here. Loads of kind of celebrity cameos. You know, you'll recognise a few people here along the way. No one really has a major role of any note. They're all just kind of more cameos, and some of them look like they're just done via Skype, which we'll come on to, but nonetheless, you will recognise a great many kind of faces here, very much like the kind of the Sharknado movies, but this one's far more extreme than the Sharknado films, because obviously it had to be made for more of a kind of a TV audience, so they had to kind of dial back on some of the gore, but this one definitely is some very kind of imaginative kills. They're not just the shark bites and things like that, which, to be fair, I gotta say, the sharks are actually relatively minor part in a lot of ways. We don't really see a lot of them, and they don't really actually have a big role in the film, to be quite honest with you, considering the movie is called Sky Sharks. They're very visually interesting, but the emphasis here is more on the actual zombies, to be quite honest with you. But the zombies themselves are very well designed. The makeup is fantastic, and they look very cool in their kind of like Nazi get-up and stuff, and everything is kind of like, you know, steampunk-esque, if that makes sense, so that it kind of has that extra layer of cybernetic cool with it as well. I quite like some of our characters. Everyone's kind of playing along on the joke and kind of giving OTT performances here. And it's just a lot of fun on the way. And like I've said, the first and the third acts are a load of fun. They're the kind of the set pieces. The problem for me comes mainly in the second act, which seems to be quite honest with you, all over the place, and seems to want to go on a completely separate path, going down a lot of kind of flashbacks and seemingly distractions from the kind of the main story. And unfortunately, it does grind to a little bit of a halt on the second act. And there are a couple of other minor issues I have with it as well. I think the desire to have lots of these celebrity cameos in actually takes away from the story, because you feel it's the movie stopping to have these kind of cameos in, and a lot of them, as I say, seem to be done via sort of Skype and that sort of thing. Obviously, they couldn't get people filming because it's mainly a German production. And a lot of these things feel like they're just kind of stopping the flow of the film. The second act it gets quite exposition heavy, and unfortunately does take away some of the kind of the fun aspect of it. There are some strange decisions here. Some of the characters are overdubbed, giving them a kind of an unnatural feel. Now, you know, it's deliberately kind of a hyper realistic, stylistic movie, but nonetheless it kind of feels odd. I have to say, I found it somewhat difficult to see what was going on at times as well. The film is so layered with different kind of visual effects. You've got the green screen, the makeup, then we have kind of like overlays with kind of filters and lens flares and things like that. Sometimes you'll actually really not be able to see what's kind of going on. And the quality of the effects are a little variable, to be honest. Some of them look fantastic, but some of the kind of like the effects do look like they still have some rendering to go, to be honest with you. Now, this movie was, I think, a Kickstarter film. So it's not a particularly high budget film by any stretch of the imagination, but it kind of looks like maybe there was a little bit of work still to go on it, to be quite honest with you. This movie is loads of fun, however. I mean, like I've said, you can just sit back and enjoy. So I think the first act is probably the strongest, to be honest with you. But those sequences are a ton of fun. I mean, they are absolutely like balls to the wall craziness. And, you know, you won't believe what you're seeing. And it's just kind of like, it's so much fun in those sequences. The first act and then kind of like the third act to a certain degree. But I don't think it's quite as fun, to be honest with you, because we get a lot more of wider shots and things like that. And we don't quite see the, maybe the kind of level of detail that we did in the first act. It's a lot of fun, but I gotta say it does slow down at times, and it's hampered by some poor choices within the film. And I think had it just been, you know, a complete balls to the wall schlocky film with non-stop kind of like action, punctuated with sort of smaller character moments and to kind of move the story along, it would have been better. But it just really stops at this elongated break in the middle, and I feel like the movie just loses focus at that point. But it's still a lot of fun. But like I've said, this movie isn't going to be for anyone anyway. It's going to be for a certain type of people who enjoy pure schlock, silliness, craziness, and, you know, things that you've never thought you'd see on screen before. That's who's going to enjoy this movie, at least for the most part. So I'll give it a 6 out of 10. It's certainly super enjoyable in parts, if not the whole movie itself. 6 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment, and I shall look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.